Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow. 800 years ago, the gates of death were broken by the Emperor Immortal. The 5 key bearers, however, had already unlocked them and walked right through. It is in Uduasha city they dwell. Now, the ghost field breathes next to our reality, lit by the eternal flame of the well of Udu. It is a second skin, a place where thought and will struggle against gravity and light. In other places, the dead congregate in the ghost field, but in Uduasha, the well city, the hell city, they fall straight into the flames. See its glittering districts: Kshitijpur, where the rich plot to buy the horizon; Bunda West, where the refugees of 2 different nations flock; and Pasarhantu, the vertical maze of market and murder. And here is Udepat, where the Ceaseless Temple resides. Its inhabitants, a family, a snake, and a god. The temple has stood since before the gods of this world were forgotten. Watch as it turns the wheels of revolution. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about people who take risks so they can survive against the odds. Welcome back, everybody, to Desperate Attune. Last session, we saw the crew mostly deal with the aftermath of the attack on their temple. Among other things, we saw the temple try and regain the connection to the Chakravarti and their favor. Miraz's father, Zajidan, got it into his head that he should commit some kind of arcane ritual involving shedding his own body like a snakeskin to summon His Majesty back, because he thought that was the way to, regain the confidence of the god. We saw Joan have a conversation with her good friend Madison Frake about hunger, and also meet one of Abbas's friends, the diabolist. He was a diabolist, right? I'm not making this up. An infernalist, Bilal Mat. Yeah, okay. Wow, I don't know why I thought... maybe diabolist is something different in this world. But yes, we saw Joan interact with Bilal Mat. And we found out that Freya had been captured by the mysterious man known formerly as Peter Samhorse, or the crime lord Munna. Miraz attempted to make some sort of deal with his lawyer, Hardil Subramanian, and that deal was definitely completely above board, nothing to worry about whatsoever, but certainly is going to complicate whatever you're going to do now, because you're about to try and get Freya out of Munna's hands. We did definitely also, by the way, find out that Munna had invited one Lord Scarlock of Duskwall and formerly the Imperial City to visit him in Uduasha. Long-time players of Blades in the Dark may know Lord Scarlock as the primary romance option of the Blades in the Dark dating game. Probably there are some people who also know him as some kind of man-eating vampire, but it's really the romance that he stands out for. These are the broad strokes, but we can, if anyone has anything.
There was an inspection. The Imperial Inspector came.
Yes,
with,
Constance and Aarti.
Yes, with the House Annex's spy to the temple to look for Freya.
Also, Abbas had opened the letter that Freya had left behind, and now he knows everything.
Oh yeah, we cut on that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
We did. I would like not to delve overly long on Abbas revealing this in character, because I think it's just repeating information.
Yes. Guys, I know everything.
I think the one thing we don't know is where Freya is. Abbas doesn't know that. Abbas has like the rundown of like what Freya found out about Peter Samhurst, aka Munna, like all his activities and so on. But like, I don't think that includes like where he is, what the safe house might be, any of that, right? Tree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know someone who might know though,
Mhm.
and I think it is the esteemed lady in Rose and Gold, who might have some idea, considering we know Freya went there before she disappeared.
That's true.
That's true. I also think that you do have some people like who are on very good terms with you. Like you can get the Scotlanders to try and ask around. How much they know about it, I don't know, but like you are at +3 faction status with them, which means that they will like go very far for you if you ask them to. So it's something to keep in mind.
I know who you should ask.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you want to have a scene with the lady, that could actually be cool because I do actually vote for that. Like, I think that would be interesting. But we know someone who definitely knows where Freya is and who we have a great relationship with.
Oh yeah.
And we have a great working relationship with him as well. So I think Miraz would, as soon as he hears what Abbas had to say, would kind of grab Abbas and like we're going to go have a meeting with Hardale right now. Get to the bottom of this. He's our lawyer.
Miraz, did you not hear anything in I just said? He is not our lawyer. He's working for a criminal.
No, he's got clients. That's fine. But he is our lawyer. Like, I have the contract. Come on.
Do you believe that his client confidentiality is going to extend to us? I hardly.
Listen, he's a lawyer. He understands the law. I don't understand the law regarding contract law and so on. Listen, either way, he knows what's going on. Let's go talk. Let's go speak to him. I'm sure we'll. Listen, if you don't want to come, that's fine. But I'm going to go.
I think Vickers would cut in here, actually. And she would say, Miraz, I know he's a lawyer and all, but more importantly, isn't he a Foundation member? How far does that extend? And I think she's asking you to like consider this from the point of view of, like Foundation loyalties.
Mm-hmm.
Would he be more loyal to the Foundation and to you than to his clients?
Mm-hmm. I think Miraz would open his mouth a little bit and he'd say, well, it should hold a lot of water, but I mean, at least it would in Dustfall. I don't really know if the what he's basically trying to say is that he doesn't know if Iruvians have have the necessary respect for the Foundation's ethos. But I mean, it's definitely something you could lean on.
Yeah. So Vickers looks thoughtful and she says, well, I suppose you did grow up here, and I suppose you know Duasha rather well. I don't suppose it is the kind of city where anyone would betray their brother, really. And she thoughtfully drinks some tea, and I think it becomes very clear to everyone that this is absolutely not the case.
Look, I don't mind talking with Hardale, but I think we shouldn't count on his loyalty. We bring him over here, and he'll talk to us whether he likes it or not.
That's a good point. Well, we could get him here. That's true. All right. I'll send a runner.
All right. While you do that, I shall follow up on some leads. After all, I was quite concerned about Freya, and I have been trying my best to keep track of her. I at least know where she's been. And Vickers will get up and say, am I appropriately dressed for a visit to Ishcloister?
Are you dressed in your regular uniform?
Yes.
Then no. Not because your uniform is not flashy enough, but because it's only tier 1.
Yeah, exactly. It is a very flashy neighborhood, right? So that's why Vickers is asking. But no, she's absolutely not. It is the entertainment district. It's where people wear their Sunday best. But we don't really have a Sunday best, I guess.
I think Miraz is going to scratch his head a little bit and say, maybe if you take the back entrance?
Yes. Well, that's where my associate finds the way in anyway. It's Socks. I asked Socks to keep an eye on her. And obviously that's why I know where Freya went.
You shouldn't go alone. If cousin Joan wants to go, that'll be fine. But otherwise, I don't know. I can't believe I'm saying this, but there's that really annoying the man with the accent.
Of course, I shall bring Augustus. He's very knowledgeable of the area, but
I suppose we three shall go.
very good. I think Vickers,
Excellent.
Augustus, and Joan
Excellent.
at this like luxurious and decadent tea house is a great combination.
Nothing can go wrong
Def-
here.
Uh, yep.
Definitely, absolutely fine and dandy.
hmm Okay, so I guess we're going there. Yeah, I think Vickers' angle actually will be she will not. I realized she will probably not be in her Ruth Ball uniform because we're going there in the role of like Freya's protectors, and it's well known that she stayed at the temple. So I think I'm actually going as like dressed as a priestess this time.
Oh, okay.
I think it just makes more sense, right? Because otherwise, why the fuck would they let us in? But the representative of the temple, it at least becomes clear what my connection to Freya is. So
Yeah, makes sense.
mhm.
I think that if you're heading to Ash Cloister, I think the way that people will look at you is that they will assume you are the kind of like leader of this little gang because you're definitely dressed most like, some kind of like bohemian, like fancy artsy type.
So just to, I don't know if we're starting with this scene, if we're starting with Miraz and Vickers' trip, or if we're starting with the meeting with Hardil.
Maybe we can cut back and forth depending on how it goes.
Yeah. But I think just to paint the scene a little bit, right? Ash Cloister is this very strange, like it's the entertainment district, and it's also the ruins of an old monastery. So it's this very strange, like old cyclopean, gigantic ruins of what was probably once some sort of holy site, maybe even before like the star fell here. There's these truly ancient ruins, right? And then there's all of these figures among the ruins setting up plays and dances and whatnot. And I don't think Vickers has ever been here. I don't think any of us really have had much reason to go here.
I used to go here back in the day, and I'm sure Abbas has had a long history here as well, absorbing the culture.
Yeah, the people who are from here probably certainly did. I don't know if Joan has been here. Like, do the Railjacks go here on their time off? But you didn't come here as a Railjack, granted.
Maybe sometimes. I feel like it's probably a little bit like far from where they usually hang out.
Yeah, I feel like the entertainment is more like uniquely Iruvian, right? There are these like
Yeah, exactly.
cultural things like operas and plays that rely on actual knowledge of the myths and history and stuff. So a lot of it's just incomprehensible to outsiders. So Vickers will definitely look like somewhat uncomfortable and out of place, even more than usual. I suppose she will turn to Augustus, who is at least from here, and ask him, like, and how much further to this particular establishment and this lady we're looking for?
Mon ami, as you know, I am new to Iruvia and Udawasha. I have only recently washed up on these foreign shores.
Yes, but you're a man of culture, Augustus. Please do remember that.
Oh no, he's a method actor.
Yes,
We established that he was. Yeah.
I'm playing off of it. See, he's a man of
Yeah.
culture. He understands these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. He says, yes, of course. Merely another 3 minutes in this direction. Oh, not of course that you would fail such a test, but perhaps you know of the 17. Perhaps you know of the 17 classic styles of Udawashan theatre.
Vickers fiddles a bit and says, well, no, I was never quite that good at reading the language. Most of what I read in Hadrathi is recipes, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you can see his face fall a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think he says, perhaps you are conversant in the 7 emotions of dance?
Well, I feel better now. He
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Mhm. And I
looks
think,
much calmer.
yeah, and I think he like nervously, yeah, he nervously kind of like scratches at his like eye patch because he can't actually see underneath it.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's not so much a method actor that he's gonna gouge his eye out.
Yeah, Vickers looks to Joan. Do you have any sort of knowledge of dance or theatre or anything of that sort?
I fail to see entirely how it's relevant to us finding Freya.
That's a good point. She,
Well, as you see unfortunately the esteemed establishments to which we intend to attend, and the esteemed lady whose acquaintance we intend to make, she is very particular. How shall I say? One cannot. She may not see us if we do not display enough culture.
well, we are going to tea house, are we not? I think between the two of us, we know quite enough about tea. She's just
yeah.
looking at her.
Great. Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, because what was the place called? The Chipped Cup, right?
Yeah.
So I guess we enter, and I honestly forget how this was described the last time, but I remember it as being like very decadent. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It is very decadent. The place that the people who are familiar with go is not the same as the kind of more the people who are on the inside have a very different view of the chipped cup, because that's where you get access. And like if you want to see the esteemed lady and like try and like get her to be real with you, you will have to like get in there. If you want to make an appointment, well, that's impossible. She's booked up several months in advance at a time.
Yeah.
But even in that case, she would meet you as a professional, not as like Freya's friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously this is the complication, right? We still kind of need to keep this somewhat subtle. We can't just barge in and be like,
yeah,
Freya's been kidnapped by a crime lord. Yeah, how do we go about making contact with her? That's actually a very good question.
I think that like it's entirely possible that there is a Roofball fan of yours who is present here, whom you could try and prevail upon, whether or not like we could see how that would go, and we would see whether that would like become complicated.
Yep.
I actually have one idea.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I have an idea now too, but go ahead and say yours.
So several sessions ago, we introduced a complication that I never remembered, which is that the Severosi nail at the other tea shop was going to come find you, and she never did. But it's possible she's here and she remembers you, but not necessarily in a happy fashion.
Excellent. I was in my priestly garbs then as well. I remember this distinctly.
Yes, you are.
So
yeah, so she could be around.
Mhm.
Those are, I think, like the two main things. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think Vickers will see this like luxurious and the decadent atmosphere around it. You're like the smoke in the air, the cushions. This all like this place. I mean, it speaks of luxury, right? But it also reeks of espionage because that's the kind of environment that it is. And so I think Vickers will straighten her back, like to try to look as good as possible. And she will walk forth towards a member of the staff, and she will say like, "I have words from the Ceaseless Temple. The wheel turns for the lady." And she will just say a mysterious spy-sounding phrase.
Incredible. Okay.
And we'll see what happens, right? The wheel turns for the lady. They should know what that means, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I think you should roll. This is risky. The risk here is not that it means nothing. The risk here is that it means something you don't want it to mean.
Yes, of course.
But it could work in that, like, the message will go through. I think with standard effect, it will go through to the lady that there is someone from the temple who is looking.
Yeah.
Right.
And who has some important message.
Yeah.
The risk is that it's a straight up death threat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Indeed.
it could be, but
you never know. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not good at spy phrases. Okay, Vickers is just trying to blend in. This is how people talk here. Get with the.
Okay.
And this seems like a consort. Like you're kind of like relying on your heritage or background.
Yeah, risky standard. Can Joan assist me in some way?
Well, I'm not going to say anything extra because
Mhm.
I feel like that would be diluting
Yeah,
what you're doing.
the espionage, yes.
I think, the way I was going to approach this, if you didn't, would be to make it clear, very clear, that we are direct friends of Freya.
Mhm.
And I think we are going to. Did Freya have any possessions at the temple at the time that we left?
Good question. I mean,
Hmm.
Klow can
Okay.
tell you this.
I'm thinking.
Well, for one, the ghost key, she left a copy of that behind.
Yes,
But-
she did.
That's,
I don't know how people would know that that's hers though, so it's maybe not the best possession.
Abba says
yeah,
that,
that's
right?
true.
Actually, I think Padma Priya has it. But,
No, well, we got it
Yes.
off her. Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Abba says that. I think there's also I don't know, a few pieces, some clothes, a few books, and so on. I guess.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think I'll just have something from the kingfisher's lair that we took.
Yeah.
I'll have that prominently displayed, maybe a necklace or something.
And because the silver nail is here, I'm gonna angle for a devil's bargain. I'm gonna ask if there is one because I think it's fun.
Yeah. I think that what was it that you said? The wheel turns for the lady.
Yeah.
Okay. Abbas is not here, right?
No. And we established with Abbas that the wheel turns means some vague change is coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's basically
So I think that it's possible that
Mhm.
Abbas has even forgotten this. But again, as part of the reawakening of the city is remembering him,
Mhm.
it's possible that he once did some light terrorism, and then left a calling card along the lines of the wheel turns, and the Severosi guard, whose name I will recall any second now, it's gonna disappear in my mind, knows this. So when you say this, the reason that she immediately goes, wait a second, is that you're actually unknowingly referring to some act of violence against maybe even something like Severosi adjacent in Uduasha as part of
Right.
So because Abbas's reputation has resurfaced, I'm basically
yeah.
drawing attention to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fair enough. I will take it, and I will also push myself for great effect, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what I want with
Great.
great effect, just to clarify what that is
Yes. Yeah.
with standard effect, a message gets through and all. But I think with great effect, I want to actually intrigue the lady. I want her to actually think that Vickers
Sure.
is interesting. And,
Yes.
not
yeah,
necessarily
absolutely.
threatening, but I would like to work with you because you seem appealing, or
Yeah.
what's the word? Interesting, I guess. I had a cooler
No,
word.
no,
for
interesting's great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Intriguing?
Yeah, intriguing, I
Wow,
guess. Oh,
it's very important. That devil's bargain is what
yes.
I think.
Okay, I roll a 2, a 1, a 2, and a 5, and I succeed with great effect, but with some consequence.
But you will get the consequence. Okay.
Mhm.
Just give me 1 second, and feel free to cut this or keep it in. But I am actually gonna try and locate in our previous recording what the name I gave this woman is, just so I can nail her down in my head.
No, we never named her.
Maybe we. Yeah.
We never did.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So maybe I named her in my notes. I think what happened is that I named her in my notes. Then those notes disappeared. Okay, it's fine.
Well, then you can just rename her now.
Yes. Okay. So I think So this is what happens. First, the lady does, as you say, not just the message doesn't just get through, but it gets through in an interesting way. And the way that this happens is that this silver nail, and we should give her a name. Did we ever decide what kind of cultures went into Severosi?
French.
French, yes, because Augustus claims to be Severosi.
Yes, correct, Augustus.
They're not Mongolian horse lords, they're French paladins
No,
in this
French
universe.
paladins. Yes, correct.
Gracias.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Her name is Marie Joanne. She's
Marie
got 2
Joanne.
names because she's that exciting. So she
This is how it's
is
spelled.
one of
Uh-huh.
Oh, I hate this. For the listener, Klow has spelt it Marijuan.
Yes, marijuana.
So, marijuana, yes. Marijuana is someone who does have, and this is very rare, right? It's very hard to get, but she does have the ear of the lady. She doesn't have the protection of the lady. There is exactly one person who has that. That's Freya. But like, you know, the kind of person that the lady like takes somewhat seriously, you know, goes to for advice, that kind of thing. And I think the reason that you gain the lady's attention is that Marijuana comes out of like the inner bar where like Freya had earlier met the lady and spots you as you say, "Oh, the wheel turns," and says,
I think, by the way, Vickers was not planning this terribly carefully, so you know she acted like she knew what she's doing, but she just said it to a random person that looked like they're connected and espionage. So it's good that she was overheard because she probably said it to someone completely useless.
No, this person is looking at you like, what the fuck is going on? You know, like, I bet you know what this is this person is actually waiting for someone to come up to them and say a weird phrase. But this is not the phrase they're expecting. Oh. So this is very like, wait a second.
Yep.
Are you someone else? Did the messages get crossed? No, you just, and Marijuana comes out and says, "Oh, it's Victoria. I've been meaning to look you up. And friends." And then Augustus, you see, immediately goes, "Oh shit, an actual Severosi person? I don't think I can keep up my act in front of like an authentic Severosi."
Yes.
Wait, why doesn't this person have a French accent?
Because she didn't have a French accent when I voiced her the last time.
No, and also maybe she's just good at languages.
Maybe she is.
Yes. Vickers will, like, having just taken a seat with the aim to look mysterious, get back up again and just look kind of awkward. And she'll say, Oh, yes, well, lovely to see you again. I'm so sorry about the circumstances of our last meeting. And her whole, like, I am a cool, suave spy immediately falls apart as she still is not happy about the circumstances of the last meeting where everyone made fools out of themselves.
Yeah. And I think Marijuana like will say this is part of the risky consequence, right? Which is that she will say out loud, "Oh yes, you know the way that your sister just fell apart in front of, and nobody could understand what her girlfriend was saying." And then she looks at Joan and says, "And did you go mad over some tea?" And you can see the mood in the room immediately go, "Oh, these people aren't cool. They're squares."
No, I don't think it's that these people aren't cool. They're squares. I think the mood would rather be like, "Oh, this sounds amusing," right? Like, I think this is the kind of vibe of the place where they're like,
"No, sure." Like it's like, yeah. But then I'm going to take you seriously. This is like, oh, okay, fine. But like, So, I think what happens now is that you're going to have to like she will let you if you ask her. She's going to make sure the lady can meet you, but the lady will also think of you as like country bumpkins.
Yes.
And so I think she will say, what a surprise to see you here. Is there anything that you're looking for? And then she kind of like waggles her eyebrows as if to be, you know, like, can I help you with like something illicit?
As a matter of fact, there are some, we do have some business here. It's this is going to sound so wrong in context, but I guess Vickers will still say it. Like, it's rather a private matter that must be discussed with. Well, you heard the code phrase.
And I think, she's gonna assume exactly the wrong thing, which is that she says, "Oh, I see," and then like she puts some dots together and she says, "And so Abbas, what was your code name back when you were, you know, doing this kind of thing?"
We established it was the Viper, right?
Yes, it was the Viper. Yeah, correct. And she kind of leans in and says, "Doing the Viper's bidding. Oh, that's really quite something, isn't it?" And then like again in this bar, and like I'm imagining this like this is a scene straight out of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy if Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was like slightly more James Bond cool and slightly less,
Uh-huh.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy cool, but that kind of vibe. And so everyone in the room goes, "Oh yes, I had heard the Viper was back. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, there were like this is," and now they're all looking at you like, "You know the Viper? Ooh."
Uh-huh. So if this means heat, I'm going to resist it. If it doesn't mean heat, but rather just people making funny assumptions about Vickers, I will not resist it.
No, it's not heat because none of these people are interested in the Viper now. This is like old gossip. Right?
Yeah.
Like if the Viper was to blow something up tomorrow, then
Yes.
But she basically assumes that what you're here now to do is like find terrorist connections. And this is the kind of place you can do that. So it's not a bad assumption on her part.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's this absolutely like it's not that it's heat that it will spill out, but people start to assume a lot of very strange things about this. That's perfect.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Vickers says like, well, if an appointment can be made, I should be so glad of it. And in the meantime, well, I suppose we could have a chat, or else, I could administer the blessings. Because the reason the Silverdale was interested in us was she actually liked our temple.
Yeah.
And so,
and she says,
I could bless her maybe.
Yeah, and she says, administering blessings now, that's very bold, and a married woman too. And then she says, I think that a friend might be interested in meeting you, but and then she looks at Joan and like she can tell that Augustus is very nervous, and she says, perhaps your friends. Okay, what the hell? They can join so long as this one stays next to me. And then she like walks up to Joan and like is like, okay, now you and we're gonna hang out. And she's gonna try and get under your skin, but she will like. She's bought you about 10 minutes with the lady.
Yep. And I will shoot a glance to Augustus, and I think we'll see Vickers extremely efficiently use the roof ball hand signals to try to convey to him what he should do. But of course, they're not really meant for espionage and like assume a cover identity. So I'm going to communicate something pretty incomprehensible to him as instructions, and we'll see what he makes of it.
Yeah. Okay, and you get again shown into this in a bar. The lady is currently like performing, so I think it takes a little while for her to like finish her show, and then like come out. But like you get like plied with some drinks, and you like they're treating you well at the end of the day, right? And I think that like by the time she comes out, she is still kind of like in her performance gear. It's not that she's completely like back into like whatever her civilian clothes are. It's rather that she is this is a break between like shows.
Yeah. And this is she looks pretty dazzling, I'm guessing, if she's in her performer clothes. So yeah.
Oh man, what does she look like? Give me a second. Let me think about this. What was the image you had, Zoheb, when you pitched this?
I mean, the rose and gold is in the name, right? So I imagine that
for sure.
She wears like pink and gold, which is pretty ostentatious. That's not...
Yeah.
Give me a second. There you go.
Thank you. Excellent. Yes, very good. So you see, I think this is like something like the red sashes, which is to say the same elements of the sash, the robe, the flowiness, which the red sashes have kind of like, especially the rising moon style, not the rising moon, the falling star style, the more traditional style, have turned into a violent art form. She uses more sensually and more like to project a sense of mystique, and that is what she is projecting to you right now. And you can see everyone in the room is aware of her. Some people are pretending to be too cool for her. They are not.
I think Vickers will get even more like overwhelmed with all of this, because I know she's not cut out for spy games. This is definitely not her area. How does Joan react to suddenly being like with the most important person in the room? Out of curiosity.
I think Joan reacts very depressed, which outwardly might seem like not a lot of reaction.
Wait, depressed or suppressed? Okay.
As a
That's-
general vibe that is
Yeah.
going around,
It's an interesting reaction.
What is the depression a result of?
I think of her general vibe. Not
Okay.
of the Lady of Rose and Gold, but like
Yeah.
Joan as a person
Yeah.
with lots of mental difficulties might not
Okay.
react
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah,
Sure,
this is
yeah.
not your typical area. Yeah, absolutely. So we're both kind of out of our comfort zone here.
Yeah, I think she on the outside looks grumpy and standoffish.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think Vickers will raise her teacup and like taste the tea a little bit. And so the idea was we needed to communicate with her in private, but right now we're not. Right now we have an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do have an audience that is very aware of everything that she's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense. So I think once again, Vickers will have to do her best to speak in spy talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think she will make a gesture towards whatever like item of Freya's that Joan brought, and will say, "Well, so lovely to see you. I've heard actually very little about you, but I do believe we have a mutual friend, and well, I thought I should meet you, seeing how she's told me so much about you." She says, immediately contradicting herself.
Yes, indeed. And I think
Being a spy is hard.
Yes, being a spy is
being
very
a spy
hard.
is hard.
Yes.
Never let anyone tell you otherwise, especially not spies.
Yeah.
She merely raises an eyebrow and says, "I'm afraid I don't have the pleasure." And Marijuan says, "Oh, she's from that temple I was telling you about. You know,
Yes.
snakes,
Yes.
whales."
Sorry. Introductions. Yes, she says in the middle of the spy games, like sets down her. Victoria Evangeline Chakraborty. And this is cousin Joan. She says awkwardly, because I don't know. Does Joan even have a surname?
She probably has, but I've never written it down
No,
anywhere.
it's incredibly unclear. Yep. Now I'm
Excellent.
imagining the Skovlanders are like the Icelanders and just don't have surnames, only patronymics.
Yeah, Joan.
Yeah.
Joan's daughter.
Yeah.
And Augustus Khan is trying very hard not to say anything, but
Yes.
you know, in the face of the esteemed lady, is forced to say, "Oh yes, Moro, no, Monsieur Augustus Khan."
I will make quick gestures at him, and I think now my plan for him will become clear to the hand gestures.
Uh-huh.
I think, since it was invoked, he should pretend to be like my sister's girlfriend and speak only in an incomprehensible dialect of Severosi that no one understands.
Excellent. Okay, great,
So,
fantastic, and very, very good. Okay, yeah.
so like, you expect him to say something with the accent, but instead he will just say something in garbled fake Severosi. Pretend he speaks a dialect.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. So instead, it's like how in what's the Tarantino film with Christoph Waltz?
Yeah.
The first one. The one where like they appear to be speaking some incredibly arcane German. That's the reason.
Glorious Bastards?
Inglourious Bastards, yeah.
Bastards,
Yes. So Augustus Card will say something like
Yeah, indeed.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, God.
Yep. Very good. Anyway, I have introduced myself and Joan, and also introduced, we're talking about Freya. I think we could communicate at least that much by
Yes,
holding up
absolutely.
whatever it is of her item. I think what would be cool. I'm establishing a bit of a thing about your character now, Klow, but I think what would be cool here is if we have something that Freya was wearing, like a hair ribbon or something, that is like fancier than what she usually wears because it's a gift from the lady. I think that would be cool in this situation.
Yeah, maybe the last time she was here indulging her vice, she got a little. I think it's an anklet.
Yeah, perfect. So an
Mhm.
anklet, which is normally out of character for Freya, but is like an obvious tie to this place, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's out of character. It's just that she owns practically nothing,
Yeah.
generally.
True.
But this is one of the few
Yeah.
things she owns.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's a perfect kind of subtle symbol then, because Freya doesn't show this off everywhere, but the esteemed lady would know about it since.
So do you
Got it,
talk about our friend and then like subtly reveal the anklet? Tastefully.
I think. I suppose I do, and I wonder the subtle way to reveal it. Right? Is Joan just wearing it? Because that would be the.
Yeah, I think so. And she's like crossing her legs, and then it becomes obvious.
Yeah, we're not. See, we can do spy games.
Exactly.
I think that what will happen here is if Joan is subtly revealing her anklet, you see on Mary Joanne's face like a grin of like absolute pleasure come up, because now she's going to imagine that the reason that you're sullen and so on is that nobody's really paying attention to you, but you're the real beauty here. And she looks down at your anklet and says, "Oh, what a beautiful little piece, and on such a beautiful little person as well. Truly, truly incredible. Where do they make these kinds of people, my lady? Truly amazing." And I think if you're perceptive enough, you will see the lady's eyes narrow just a little bit as she understands the anklet. But
Yeah,
that's it. That's the only reaction you get.
Vickers is watching the lady very carefully. Yeah.
Joan will smile coyly and answer, I find it's generally much more interesting where people go than where they come from, or where they have gone.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think that the lady, upon seeing this, will like say, "The room," which is a clear sign for everybody to clear out, because she's in command.
Yeah.
And then she says, "My dear Marie has obtained 2 minutes for you. You may speak at your leisure."
Okay, so does the room clear of Marie-Jeanne as well, or is she?
I think Marie-Joanne is waiting for a signal from the lady, and upon getting the signal, she will assume that the only person allowed to remain in the room is you, Vickers.
Okay.
Because like the room is what she says when she wants to be absolutely private with somebody. It's the same kind of signal she gave when it was going to be just her and Freya. Right? Nobody else was allowed.
Yeah, perfect. So then I'm leaving Joan to take care of Marie-Jeanne. I'm sure that will go great.
Yes.
You seem to be.
Also, Augustus Khan.
He is not competent at flirting, but that's fine. He can
He's
make
not
himself
competent at
scarce.
flirting, absolutely. Yeah. And I think like what will happen is as you get taken away, Joan, Marie-Joanne will say, "Is it true that your cult turns into snakes?" And like this is the kind of thing that like, you know, randos will hear about cults, right? So like you just like I'm just curious about like as we see you leave the room, what your expression is like as you hear her say this.
I think it's like the expression of like a child who has been caught stealing a candy.
Excellent.
Followed by a quick denial as of course this is a complete misunderstanding of the faith and making it far too literal.
I think she says, "Oh, you must tell me more." And Augustus Khan is trying very hard to escape, and she doesn't let him. She knows he's a fake. There is no way he can leave. And it is so much funnier if he has to watch the two of you flirt. So, yeah, you have 2 minutes, Vickers, with the lady. And she's not going to say a word.
No. I think as soon as the room clears out, Vickers will, and I think I'm leaning into the fascination here angle. Like, you know, the lady actually probably doesn't encounter people like Vickers very much. The moment it clears out, she will drop the pretense, she will set down her teacup, and she will just accept, you know, that we have 2 minutes, and says very quickly, "Freya recently revealed to us that she has been investigating a local crime boss known as Munna. Now, I know you were the last person to see her. I don't think you're involved with this person, but if you are, I'm afraid things are going to come to blows between us. So at this moment, since you're the last person to have seen her, you can help us. You're either with us or against us. I would like to know which one, please."
Wow. And I think she says, that bought you another 60 seconds. It's not whether I'm with you. It's whether you're with us. I've known Freya a lot longer. I care about her much more than you do.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I know you care about her. I do hope she's told you where the people who got her out of Kingfisher Grosso. My husband did that, in fact. And now it seems we need to get her out of trouble again, and well, it seems our interests align. She's a very dear girl, and I would hate to see anything awful happen to her, and so I thought perhaps we could work together.
I think this is where you roll.
Mhm.
I don't think there is a risk here. I think this is your gather info roll, right? Like it's like a fortune roll to see how much she will tell you. But I think that like this is just about like she's very cagey. Like she's not the kind of person who like is vulnerable in public ever, and certainly
Yeah.
not to someone that she like has never met, right? So like
I know.
we'll
this
see.
This is, I think, in part by the fascination, because I don't think she's used to people speaking this directly to her, right?
Yeah,
So
no, she's not.
I think this
Yeah.
is why kind of Vickers pops a bit in her mind. So, what's my position in effect? I think it's consort, once again.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm swaying, because I'm not really trying to persuade her. I'm just trying to prove myself trustworthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're in a controlled position,
Mhm.
and I think the only risk here is that she might alert someone else, that someone else may also be looking for Freya, but I don't think that like this person, whoever she talks to about this, is not like your enemy necessarily. But like you may not be as discreet as you like.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And what's-
a controlled standard.
Controlled standard.
Yeah, I think you can get this information because that anklet was like quite powerful, right? Like, I mean, she doesn't think Freya would have let that go unless something very bad had happened to her. So therefore,
Yeah.
you know, like she like that gave you that. Otherwise, you'd only be at limited.
I wonder, is controlled standard good enough? Or should I change position to risky great?
I think that, okay, let me put it like this. I think with standard effect, you would get some information. You would get a better picture of what's going on. With great effect, you will get something that only the lady knows, and she does know something. And you will get that one thing. She will be willing to tell you that.
You know what? That sounds cool. I will switch to risky great, and I think the reason why this is
Okay.
risky is that, I think Vickers will just straight up say, I think, like, if you're that dear a friend of Freya, then you're that dear a friend of the temple, and of me. And you know,
Excellent.
we'll get entangled
Sure.
with her somehow if there's a consequence here.
Yeah,
I think.
100%. Yeah. I think that makes sense.
I don't have any real way to boost the dice though, so it's just going to be risky great with no bonus dice, unless there is a devil's bargain. I suppose I can ask.
Let me think of a devil's bargain here that is interesting. Okay, so I think that we know that Freya is entangled with this demon that is coming into the present from the future, right? And I think an obvious devil's bargain here is that like this will interest the devil from now. Like I was going to introduce it as part of the school and as part of the engagement role, but like you can kind of kickstart that and have that happen from now onwards.
You know what? I will not take the devil's bargain just because I don't think Vickers is arcanely competent enough to attract the demon's attention.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
we have established this about her. She may have said like I will administer the blessings of it, but I mean she's not good at religion. I don't think she could
here's
summon
another
the
one.
demon even by accident.
Your sister and Vipahad are the lady's next clients.
Okay, now you're cooking with gas. I will take that because
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna write this
Good.
down.
The devil's bargain gives me a 6.
Excellent.
So-
A 4, a 5, and a 6.
Yeah, so I guess with the 6
I
we
was
don't owe the lady anything. She just realizes that like, yep, we are genuinely intending to help Freya, and that's more us doing her a favor than her doing us a favor, right? So
Yeah.
okay, cool.
I think what she does is that she tilts her head and she says, you know, you've really done a number on your sister. My.
I think Vickers looks
Yeah.
very confused.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then she says, you are right that you helped Freya when I could not. And for that, and only that, I will tell you where she is. She works for a man who is very dangerous. A man whose name I will not speak here because you should already know him. But that is not why she is working for him. Tell me, do you know Lord Scarlock? 7th of that name?
Okay, now we need to establish what people in Duskwall know about Lord Scarlock,
Yeah,
I guess. He's
exactly.
kind of an urban legend in Duskwall. Yeah, I think Vickers I know she has been educated in these matters. So yes, I think she will very confidently say like, "Oh yes, I'm familiar with the family. I understand they've fallen on hard times for a few generations. Because, I mean, in Duskwall, for context, Lord Skurlock lives in what appears to be like an abandoned, overgrown mansion, and it's basically just an urban legend. And I think the funniest possible interpretation for Vickers is pity. Like, oh no, this poor family, they're so...
They don't come out in public because they're so ashamed of not having any money.
Obviously, that's what I would do if I lived in that dilapidated manor. She has no idea about this reputation for like power behind the throne, shadowy conspiracies. She just thinks they're a family fallen on hard times.
Yep. So she says, more than you know. Well, Lord Skurlock, with whom I can boast some personal acquaintance, is arriving in Uduasha to do business with the aforementioned person. And my friend and yours is key to that business.
Oh, dear me. Well, someone of that character and reputation should be easy enough to find.
I have been given assurances that she will not be unduly harmed. And then she's going to lean in and look at you and say, do not interfere with this. If it turns out that Freya is harmed and the reason was because you blundered into a situation, I will not forgive you. And neither will Uduasha.
I think Vickers will take this, like, understand this perfectly, right? And I think she will actually ask, like, do you find it likely that if we don't interfere, she will not come to any harm? And it's an earnest question. I think
absolutely. Yeah. So I think like she, it is very hard to tell whether she's being genuine or not, and she's not going to put that like armor down for you. But she will say, I have been given assurances, and the person who gave me those assurances knows what I would do were they to be broken. I intervened on Freya's behalf, something that you're finally getting around to, I see. And then I think she will just say, Uduasha is a place where certain rituals become much more powerful and much less complicated.
My straightforward question here is, and I know Vickers can't like read her, but my straightforward question is just asking her, does she want us to rescue Freya?
Yeah. So I think that like she is in a position now where it seems like she knows Freya is very in a like a very dangerous position. There's no doubt, and she can't guarantee anything. She's tried to intervene with Munna, and Munna's been like, I caught her sneaking into my house or whatever it is, like you know. But I think so. She is basically like, I'm doing everything that I can, and I have no doubt that like Munna's the kind of person who will take anything and use that as an excuse for why everything went wrong. Right. So she's like, if you turn up, then I have no doubt that like when things go wrong, he'll point at you and be like, well, obviously these people blundered in, and then.
Makes sense. But it also means that if anything else goes wrong, like if, for example, Freya tries to break out on her own, which she definitely will, then he will also use that as an excuse. So I think we have an understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, know, if she's asking us to take the heat, fine. I am perfectly fine with taking the heat. What Vickers was not willing to do was risk Freya's life unnecessarily, but it doesn't sound like it's unnecessary. So
no, it's not unnecessary, and to some extent, it is that like it's already at max risk. You can't be at more risk.
Yep.
You know?
Okay, excellent. Then I will. I think Vickers will just nod and look at the clock and be like, "Yep, our time is up."
And I think Lady will say, "Come in without an appointment again, and you will not enjoy it." And she will say, "I think like you can tell marriage when I said so."
Oh, right. I shall forward the message, Vickers says, and I don't think she even registers to her that that was a threat.
Yeah. I mean,
spy games are hard.
I mean, they literally are very hard. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And I think like there is some ritual that Skurlock wants to do with like an arcane artifact that you were previously involved in, and it just struck me that like Freya was intimately involved with that artifact, with that crown that you pawned.
Yeah.
So obviously, it would be even more useful if you had both Freya and that crown for whatever ritual he's doing.
Yeah, totally fair.
So
I'm done here with the scene. I know that this scene has been long, but I would like to see how Joan handles marijuana.
So, last time I saw you, you were swaggering at street urchins. But now you're here.
Look, the job's the job, and you got to do the job. But it's no life for someone used to action. Imperial Quarter, this train station, that, tea house that you got to look after. No, what is the point of life is this. And then she kind of like, motions to the chipped cup where, it is a spy bar, right? Like there are people playing chess, definitely 3 clandestine handovers happening at once. At least one person is a honeypot, if not many more than one. And she says, look, you have to be involved. You have to enjoy things.
Of course.
Can't just wander around, not knowing.
Keep an eye out for the lady, I presume. You two seem to have a close understanding.
I think you see her like blush just a little bit, and she says, "Oh, well, I mean, I wouldn't, not the lady." And like people, like it's a bit presumptuous, right? To say it's A, presumptuous, and B, very cliche. To say, "Oh, I would do anything for her." And I think instead she says, "No, I mean, look, we're fine. It's more like, the kind of people who come here, Ash Cluster itself, there's things like, going on. The lady is a different matter altogether." And I think she will leak to you. She will say, in fact, I think her next appointment is with Eliza. So what's her name? Eliza Doolittle? Eliza Windsor? No. Eliza Ashcroft. Yeah.
Is that so? Oh, she has many connections then. Is it true that she has some sort of protege?
Oh, we've been warned not to talk about it, which of course only makes everybody talk about it more, but she does. Young little scrap of a girl, turned up after having been missing, apparently got like sucked into some cult. I've never seen the lady do this for anybody. She just, made it clear no one was to touch her, and we haven't. I wonder what she's up to, actually. Oh, that might be a connection.
I think, if you want to get in with the lady, that somebody has broken the rule.
Oh!
And that person who has broken the rule probably sent some people here. Maybe to make contact, maybe to keep an eye on that protege's contacts herself. I'd be quite interested in who that is, if ever your eyes were that sharp.
Yeah. I don't think you need to roll to convince her.
Mm-hmm.
I think she will do this. Because this is exactly the approach that will work. But like everybody else is also paying attention. So like if you want to if you want this to be something that everyone in this room is going to be like, "Oh, I see, interesting." And it's not necessarily all of them are on the lady's side, right? Some of them are like, someone fucked with the lady and got away with it. Maybe that's weak, right? Mm-hmm. But like if you don't mind everyone in the room kind of being aware, then yeah, I think like that can absolutely happen. And I think she's definitely like, "Oh, we haven't been. I'll keep an eye out. Oh, that's dangerous. Oh, that's the best." And you can definitely see, yeah, danger is what like she enjoys.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. Do I want to kind of do damage control on other people knowing it? I think that's probably the safe option. So I'm going to append, but I don't think it will work out. After all, nobody messes with the lady. It's probably just there's so many apocryphal story. And I kind of want to try and use my voice of authority to make that seem like, oh yeah, of course that's true. Of course that's just the case. To everyone but her.
Interesting. Yeah.
Everyone but Marijan.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's a role. And I think the rest, here is that this is the first time you've used the this is the first time you used this ability, right? Like the
I've used it once before,
Okay.
at the meeting.
at the meeting, yes, of
Like
course. But at the meeting, you were in an
Yeah, this is the first time I've used it in the real world.
Yes, indeed. Okay, cool. So I think that I'm going to start a clock, and this is going to be like linked to your Joan understands her devouring nature clock. And it's going to be, oh man, I think it is going to be something to do with like the influence of the god, like being something that you don't fully like understand anymore, or like you haven't yet, right? So like if this clock finishes before that clock finishes, it will be very bad.
Yeah.
If it finishes after, it may just be like new insight, right? But I am gonna call it. Unfortunately, my brain is saying I'm at soup, which is unacceptable. So I'm just gonna, for now, call it the Kingfisher clock, and then I'll think of a better name for it later.
Like, is it like tampering with things you don't understand, basically?
Yeah. So I think that's the risk here, and I have I've not ticked it at all yet, but like I could be. So
yeah. So what level of risk should I be?
I think it's just risky. I think it's this is actually quite an important clock. So let's say it's risky, but it's only one tick at risky.
Okay, so let's see. This ability is an automatic push. I think the roll will obviously be swayed. Yeah, is there any devil's bargain to me? Is there an interesting devil's bargain to my attempt to keep this information kind of secret, to convince other people to disregard it, other than the person I actually want to follow up on it?
Augustus Khan will also not disregard it, and that's a terrible idea because you don't know who he's going to tell.
I'll take.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's there. He's right there.
Yeah. Terrible ideas are the best. So, 2 bonus dice, 3 dice total. Sway 5.
Nice. Okay, so you say this, and the unnatural way, like for a second, your voice is layered, I think, right? With like a sibilant, susurrating kind of sound. And as a result, everyone who hears you, apart from Augustus and Marijuan, are immediately like, oh yeah, of course, there's nothing happening, whatever. And I think Marijuan instead is able to disregard it, and she's like wondering, but both she and Augustus Khan, I think, kind of notice that something just happened, like a shiver like goes through them. And Augustus Khan, terrified, but still he's part of the team. He's been through the training. He's a roof bowler. He says, oh, what was that? Did you just do something arcane? And like he pitches this low enough that nobody can hear it, because if you said it out loud, it would literally defeat your success. But like he kind of like whispers this, being like, "Oh my god, like did something happen?"
I'm sure there's a lot of arcane things happening in a place like this. I'd expect Vickers to be back by now anyway.
Yeah, I think this is the moment she comes back.
Haha.
And Augustus just kind of like shivers and is like, okay, maybe, someone just walked over my grave. And he does have a real grave because he's planning on faking his death as Morrison. So when that happens, he will have a grave, but until then. Great. So I think both of you exit. Sorry, Vickers, you leave. You see the bar unnaturally. Not that you know this is unnatural, but the bar is kind of like very not interested in like the conversation that Joan is having. Just kind of like a little like hustle, like a little tradecraft going on. And I think you can see that Augustus Khan seems a bit disturbed, but then he always does. So, not a big deal.
Yeah, no, I don't think I will notice. This went well. Everything is fine.
Yes, everything is okay. Don't worry about it.
So, is it fair to say that we know that we can like now intercept Lord Skurlock's meeting with this information?
100%. You
or do we
you
need-
don't know yet where the meeting is, but you know that like the meeting itself is about something like this, right?
Yeah, and we know Skurlock's arrival is like public, I guess.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Skurlock himself arriving, absolutely not difficult. Yeah.
So then, presumably, we can like scout out his hotel or whatever.
Oh, yes, you can. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I know
but
where
anyway,
he stays even. Yeah.
From one bar to another, we have a meeting with a lawyer.
Are you meeting him at the kebab sauna,
No.
Miraz?
We invited him to the temple.
Oh, you invited him. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ever since he was introduced in the kebab sauna, I'm imagining that one of Hardill's like really weird traits is that he's just super comfortable with being naked, and it's just like
Yeah,
he's the serious, polished man, but
Yeah.
he just like hangs out
can
in the
be
sauna
serious and
without
polished.
clothes, but with his briefcase.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like we need to get Skurlock into the kebab sauna.
Yes. Yes. I wonder
Yeah.
if vampires are vulnerable to garlic, right? I'm sure they put plenty of garlic in the kebab sauna
Yeah.
for that even better smell.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so blows out our brief candle. I named the disciples of the Ceaseless Temple thus, with both their given names and taken. Soumithri, called Tree. Zoheb, called Klow. Prince, Emma, and Aadiyat, called Soap. Intro music, Jalandhar by Kevin MacLeod. Outro music in Kiravani Ragam by Srinivas. Blades in the Dark by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions. Iruvian playbooks by Johnstone Metzger. Follow us at Desperate Attune on Twitter or email us at desperateattune@gmail.com. Support us at kofi.com/desperateattune.
And in the next episode of Desperate Attune,
At this point, Miraz suddenly slumps forward and his forehead bangs against the table.
Excellent.
There was this moment when Hardil wiped his glasses, where he was briefly suddenly distracted and he kind of like spaced out as he was thinking about inventing essentially the equivalent of windshield wipers for glasses. And
Okay.
and he never managed to come back from that thought. In fact, he's still thinking about it. But now someone else is in
He's
his head
doing
now.
his thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's off doing the schematics while suddenly his head falls down and then gets back up again. And there's this steely-eyed look in his eyes and a smile. And then he leans forward and says, Hardil, tell us where Freya is.